So we're on location in Chemainus, and we just finished gridding the wall. What did that take us? Oh, maybe
3.5 hours.
that took us 3.5 hours?
Well, no, 3 hours.
Took us 3 hours. The important thing about sketching it in right now, Orion, is that the light is on the other side of the wall. Tomorrow it's going to be kind of hard to see because of the sun. There's a little period there between 11 and 1 where you get this sort of angle of the sun and the stucco gets very hard to see through. So we should be ready to start painting tomorrow if we can get that thing gridded. Of course, tonight we have to go back and slide project that in there. So if we just went back there tonight to punch in those signs, they don't take very long to trace. And then once that's all happening, everything should be fine. Okay. Well, we're on location at the honking mural. This is the third time this mural's been painted. The last time was just a refurbish, but apparently the wall was rotten, and now it has to be repainted from scratch. Now, if you can see, if you zoom in, I don't know if you can zoom into this line here. Can you sort of see?
Yep, you can see the line a little bit
here, eh?
Yeah.
These lines here and here are the grid by which we're going to correspond and draw part of the image. So we're at the sketching stage, just a carpenter's pencil, and we'll start.
All right.
You can guarantee that his hat's going to be somewhere in here, right? Comes up in here like that. Right? And his face. But I'm going to do a projection, so I'm not going to really worry about where he is right now. But anyway, he's sort of there. You see how I'm looking where his shoulder is? It's about halfway down this grid.
Yeah.
So we know that halfway down this grid is where the shoulder is. So we know that comes in something like that. Meeting that grid about halfway. And of course it comes out above onto this one. It comes down like so. Right? So even without a slide projection to prove it, we have the basic shoulder coming in there. Occasionally, you'll find on your grid that there's convenient places where lines line up really nicely. In other words, in the bottom of the window here, you see where the grid is at the very bottom? Mm-hmm. These are key points that are, where you can confirm that you're on the right track. So if I'm over here, I can confirm that line to make sure I'm sort of oriented correctly. Now this window's got some weird trip going on in the bottom where it's falling down. See how it's on an angle? Mm-hmm. So that's going to throw the eye out. But I got to do it. So I got to go from there almost all the way over to here on a bit of an angle. So that kind of tells you what's going on there, right?
Yeah.
And again, if you look again, the convenience is that the inside of that line follows the grid, right? So that window's not hard to define in terms of where it is. We can go right up here, right up that line. The comment I was going to make was key point to remember at all times, you're always looking at your grids in terms of proportions, right? So you're looking like, is it halfway? It's easy. Find the halfway point. It's a little above halfway. That's how you kind of get oriented within the grid itself. So here we have the edge of the window, right? That line. And there's some shading under there. And then there's another whole slat here that comes down. So this is our frame. I'm being very rough right now. Hopefully I'll know how to do it with the airbrush a little bit better.
Hopefully.
Hopefully my lines are not just looking sloppy. The problem is that this is a very heavily stuccoed surface.
Yeah.
So the pencil tends to want to drift around a lot more than it should.
Bouncing off of bumps and
But
whatnot.
I'm getting the general gist of where things are, and in that window. Yeah, if I can finish this sketch tonight.
Tonight. And how are you feeling about finishing the sketch tonight?
Well, not that optimistic.
Not that optimistic.
These slats are very important. It's amazing how much of on an angle they are.
Well, it's a picture of a very old building.
It's sort of bowing down. But most of what I'm doing right now is, it's not real detail, just reference lines.
And so this is the third time you've redone this mural?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really starting to feel like it.
I can imagine.
Well, you can tell by the response from the public that they really miss it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's been like, it's actually, originally the murals were supposed to depict the history of the town, but now the murals are the history of the town, which is interesting.
That is very interesting. Someone should paint a mural of a mural being painted.
Yeah, which is what, you know. Well, yeah, there was that one guy in, there was this one town that they didn't have enough money for a mural, and they had a budget. It was limited. So the artist painted a mural of a mural painter painting a mural, and he left it unfinished because it was just basically a work in progress.
Oh,
So it was actually a painting of a guy like me on a scaffolding, starting a mural but not being able to finish, not having it finished.
So it kind of worked out in the end.
Yeah, they didn't have a budget to finish it, so they didn't have the budget for a full finished mural. So he painted them half a mural.
Huh.
But he made it into an art piece. It was quite good.
And where's this?
That's in 29 Palms in California. So,
And so how long have you been doing murals for? What year was your first mural?
well, actually, the first mural I did was in Toronto.
Oh yeah, back east.
Basically, I did that mural in 1976.
1976.
Right across from the Toronto Metropolitan Library. We have a sign coming in at number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or no, number 5. Actually comes in at number 5.
And is that the Black Cat
Black Cat.
cigarettes?
Right here.
Right, and these are the ones we had stencils made up for.
And that is going in like there. It's just underneath that window. So this is sort of the areas that we're needing to block out. And the sign areas. I tell you, eh?
Yeah.
We're asking for trouble. The deeper we go into this.
Well, you should have started from up here in the first place, I think.
Well, it doesn't matter.
It's all gonna connect, right?
You're gonna have to connect the lines. It's like a weird Twilight Zone. It's like I've been doing this mural for 24 years. It's like an eternity. I've just been doing this mural. That's all I've been doing. I haven't really done much. So we're talking 7-Up. It likes you. That's what it says. It likes you. Well, you can't see where it says you, but I'm pretty sure it says that. This is the top of our 7-Up sign. So tonight when we project this,
Right.
we have to fall inside this area.
So what's the biggest challenge of sketching this piece?
Keeping track of the little squares.
Because there's like 378 of them or something, right?
Well, whatever 27 times 14 is.
Right.
Okay, well, we're basically looking now at the color version because we're going to be dealing with that. We'll be referencing the one with the grid for any questions. But basically, you can tell what's going on here. In the upper left-hand corner, I'm going to be the first part of gray. I'm not going to touch the roof with the moss and the cedar shakes. I'm just going to go and do this one little edge here. See that?
So, coloring up here is kind of whack.
Yeah, it's bluey.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically we know what we're doing, and we're cutting into it like nothing else. Ready? See? And I'm actually following 1, 2, 3, and there's a little.
You're winging it. Do you often wing it?
I have to. Otherwise, the whole thing is overwhelming. I figure if there's enough, if I get enough on here, I'll be able to figure out what to do with it. A little bit of airbrush.
And so what are you doing right now? You're basically putting on the first layer, layer 1.
Well, I'm treating the whole thing a bit like a cartoon right now.
Almost like a line drawing.
Line art. Line art. These little lines that make up this painting.
Your favorite part of this mural is?
Well, the way this little corner is here, you can't see it so much here.
Oh yeah, the little piece of wood.
It's a signature piece.
I got you.
It's like it's been kicked in. Right?
Get a better look at that. Oh yeah, I see
So
it.
it's kicked in, and you know that's where all the mice get in.
What made it such an old building? Really, that spot there makes the building.
What's this? Wednesday?
Yeah.
We're losing track of time here. It's amazing how we get so involved. But last night, I don't know whether you can see, but we projected some of the logos on the wall. We've got the Black Cat and Orange Crush, Hong Hing, 7 Up, and then down there we have Buckingham cigarettes, a couple of different versions of that.
It's overexposed over there.
Okay, well, and then under there we have the Coca-Cola Kick and Fresh Up with 7 Up. Feels like an ad, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, today, after having done all the line work yesterday to really designate where everything is,
We're going
today,
to...
the job is fundamentally a house painting job. We've got the lines in, and we've got to paint the house. And we've got our boards. They want a light shade of gray, and that's going to become the underpainting. And we'll probably, believe it or not, I think we're going to block in the yellow for the 2 Black Cat signs up there so that when we transfer the lettering on top, we have the background already done. I'm going to get started. Maybe we'll take a cut just as I start painting the full hit. Today we have to use a mask because we're going to be painting with a lot more paint. And when you're airbrushing with paint, large quantities, it's always good to kind of not breathe in some of the wonderful chemicals that go with painting. But it does tend to fog your vision, so I'll take off my glasses. And let's get started. see the moisture.
Yeah, there we go.
That kind of shows it, eh?
Yeah.
We're really getting the coverage. The thing about airbrush is you can't stop moving the brush.
Yeah.
Pour it right in till it's almost, yeah, 3/4 full, and then add some medium, and that's good. Fill up about 3/4 of an inch of medium, matte medium, which acts as kind of a, helps the paint go through the sprayer, but it also adds a varnish to the wall. So by the time we've added a number of layers of paint, we've actually pretty much varnished the wall 2 or 3 times. Just makes the paint a little more velvety as it goes through the brush, and adds a certain amount of translucency, so that when you're overlaying, you get a nice buildup of color, so you don't lose your underpainting. A lot of people wonder with airbrush, how do you work with airbrush to get a sharp line? Well, a lot of the cases, in a case like this, we're looking at a pencil drawing of Hong Hing, and we're going to airbrush the background in with some color just to kind of fill it in, because it's going to be blacked out eventually. But we don't want to overspray onto Hong Hing, okay? Because we've already gone through a lot of detail of getting him in there. So if you really think about how air comes out of an air gun or an airbrush, it comes out in a fan-like fashion. So if you aim it straight, you're going to get spray on both sides of the line. But if you aim this way, at an angle, then the cut, the actual edge of where you're cutting, is sharper on the inside than it is on the outside. So you can actually work right where you don't want any paint to be. Of course, you don't get blasted away. You do the area around the subject first. Be very careful to kind of stay away from the main drawing here. And then once you've got a good edge, then you can come at it a little bit more liberally and cover in the area. But you see how we got a nice edge here? So I'm going to do that all the way down his arm here. Okay, so we're day 4, and it's a little overcast, which is probably good for the light. This is Thursday. So Monday we had come over and did the pencil drawing. And Tuesday we went over some of the main lines in that pencil drawing with airbrush, some airbrush lines to delineate where things were. And Wednesday we basically did kind of a house painting job where we painted those boards in as if they were one color, but we know they're not. So today we're detailing the wood grain and the shadows on each slab. So we never really introduced the first brush the way we are introducing the second brush. But we don't really like the other brush that much because it's just basically a blasting gun for getting a lot of paint on the wall at once. But this is more refined. This has a very tiny little needle in the middle of it and a very small little hole. And I'm just going to adjust that needle, push it out through, just give it a gentle tap and tighten it up. Check the action, got lots of air. Now we're using artist's acrylics, so we had to do a pre-mix, and we're just using kind of a translucent black, which is made up primarily of, did we mix Payne's Gray in here, or was it just black?
No, it's
okay,
Payne's
so
Gray.
we're getting a nice mix of the two. These are going to be all the lines that that's in the wood grain, but we want a translucent color because even though it's just black, we're using a nylon, and I've found that nylon is a very fine mesh. We just tie off one end and make a small sock out of it. It works great for filtering the paint, and the reason it works so great is that, paint goes through it very easily, and then you can fold it over like this, put your finger on the edge of the cup and pull it through, and you get a very nice sifted, perfectly mixed paint. You just rinse it out and hang it on the edge of your bowl, your edge of your paint, and you're ready to go. Well, you know, wood grain, you have this is the fun part of actually painting, is this interpretive, you know, what your interpretation of things is. And since I'm really a space artist, I see wood grain as swirling masses of galaxies. And I think that becomes pretty obvious. But each line between the slats needs to have a shadow underneath it, right? Because it's an overlap. So we're putting in one good solid line, and then we're feathering the bottom of it, you see? That gives the sense of an overlay. And in some cases, like if you look at the picture, that overlay is fairly, can be, you know, a sign that the slat is out a bit too far, so we don't do it completely evenly each time, right? Now, if you can just step back a bit, I'm just going to finish this line. We're going to go right to the edge. Nice solid line. And then underneath that. And it's barnwood, so in many cases it's got quite tarnished, so you can be pretty free form about shading it. It's, okay, we're up on this one. Now this one seems to end with a little knot as well, so this is quite the piece, this board, right? You always check in the back of your maquette to make, if you want to clean your brush, plus the tip gets encrusted with paint as well. And like I said, this hole can sometimes get kind of annoyingly filled, as you can see. But it's still wet, so it's probably still breathing. So we're talking concentric circles. And you have to kind of coordinate your knots. I mean, if this is a knot, then wood grain's going to come flying around like this. So we're talking boards, so they're cut. So your grain, if you're going to put grain in the wood, it should actually be cut off, you see? But the key is to treat each piece as a separate unit and not get stuck in a pattern that, because nature, while it's a pattern, doesn't repeat itself. And that's a key point. Here 4.5 days, and what we're going to do today is we're going to work on the very top of this mural so that we can work our way down and slowly start losing the scaffolding so that we have a little more freedom to work at ground level. And so we're going to do old shingles today and moss.
So what we've done is we've taken a slide and projected it on the wall for this logo for Black Cat Cigarettes. And we did a pencil line tracing of the actual logo. Just basically just a type of lettering. And we're painting the background first. So we're moving right up to our line with the airbrush. And we're carving those letters out, in a sense, working in reverse. Instead of having to deal with painting the letters, we're painting the space between the letters. And this is kind of an abstract way of dealing with something that's very difficult to do. Handwriting, lettering, all those kinds of things are not easy to do. So, and yet doing it the other way, you can actually sneak in the back door and end up with some pretty precise looking lettering without ever having done any lettering. Isn't that interesting? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're at the point now where the airbrush and the accuracy of it is incredibly critical. And shaping letters has to be done very close to the subject itself because you want as sharp an edge as possible, but you don't want to do it too fast because you're following in this case, a pencil line, which is very faint. You have to know where you're going before you get there. Now we have video, so speak! Speak! I'll forever hold you. And wood piles are a pattern, basically. And I like them because they're kind of like a reptilian kind of thing at first. They turn into kind of what you might see on an armadillo or something. And of course the wedges are split wood, so you can see the split in the wood. But the shape of it is often quite abstract because, you know, when you split wood, you just never know what it's going to look like. So you might get a nice little thin piece like that. You might have a few round logs every now and again. This will all be filled in with shadow and colorized with some other colors to kind of give it a more textural feel. And since it's under a metal sheet, we're going to see how it kind of gets shadowed out in areas as well. So I'll just do a few here and you can see how it's done. There's my 2x4. I like to stack from the bottom actually, so because I like to make it look naturally stacked. If you were just throwing the wood on a pile, this might go in there like that. Got another one over here like this. Some are more pointy than others. Basically, it's shards of wood. You're kind of filling in the blanks as you go, so it's kind of nice that way. You're creating a puzzle. But you're leaving just enough space between them for the shadowing. And I'm not being even about the paint coverage either, because I don't want to have it all one color, ultimately. And towards the top of the pile of wood, quite often you see smaller pieces.